Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Options Mentor here from a very snowy Midwest today. I'm sure many of you east of us and even west of us are going to be experiencing a big storm this week. I was a little worried about the ice preventing me from even being able to do a video this week, but I'm able to get it in here so far. So this coming week is going to be an interesting one. We do have the FOMC minutes from the last meeting where the market can take a look at what the individual governors may have said or thought, how votes went. They like to look at that to kind of put their finger in the air and see which way the wind's blowing on further rate cuts. And then a very unusual situation on Thursday, the 9th, will be closed to honor the late President Carter. So we'll have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday trading, close Thursday, and then back again Friday with the monthly jobs number. So kind of a strange week, couple of news events that can influence things. But I think the market is beginning. I think it will begin to settle down a little more here as we go over the next week or two. I think by that, I mean maybe more back and forth. I mean, instead of constantly up or necessarily huge sell-offs, I think we'll have a little more back and forth over the next couple of weeks. Beyond that, who knows? I personally kind of lean a little bearish on where we'll be by the end of the month, but that remains to be seen. That's just one guy's opinion. But I did want to start out today. Of course, I'll be showing a trade. Hear a gong in the background. That's my mantle clock. That thing's over 100 years old, still going. I hope I can say that for myself someday. But anyway, let me start out here. I'm going to talk to you about the VIX. And you guys have watched me enough to know that the VIX is very important to me in my trading. It's really what I base what trades I'm going to get into on. Now, I do want to make something clear here. Often people think, hey, Mark said I could get into this trade because the VIX is here. Now the VIX is made a big move up or down. Do I need to get out? No, you don't need to get out because the VIX has changed in and of itself. I just like to use it for trade entry. It doesn't cue me to get out of a trade. Just wanted to make that clear. But if we look here, we have a chart of the VIX for the last year. And in the last year, we've been mainly in the lower end of things. If you look over the last several years, a lot of below 15 in the VIX. But if you look at it back here in January of last year, you can see we're below 15 or around 15. So we'd be doing things like calendars, maybe diagonals or even double diagonals. Then we peaked up here closer to 20. When that happens, I would lean more towards double diagonals, maybe even butterflies. But you can see how things change. And what I'm going over this for is to show you to kind of extend upon what I said last week about how you have to be looking at the market and its conditions and be ready to change. You can't just keep jamming the same trades on through all volatility environments. That's going to make your trading life very difficult. So we can see here, just as the year goes along, here we are in a little higher, comes back down. Maybe you're doing calendars, diagonals. Now we're back up again. Maybe even doing some flies, probably eliminating calendars in this area as we're up around 20 and just doing butterflies and most likely double diagonals because the volatility is higher, which in a sense is saying, hey, the market's really moving here, which means, of course, it can move a lot more. So you want to have some width to what you're doing. And then it really tapered off. And we were in calendar season for quite some time, all the way really until we got into late July. This was a very difficult summer to trade, I found. And you can see, look at this. You can see why we start out really low. Then we get a little chop here, maybe some tradability, then some crazy, crazy VIX spike here. And of course, it came right back down. I do think that's worth noting. Remember that about the VIX. Many times when it spikes, it tapers off pretty quickly. Maybe not all the way down, but it starts to taper off. You can see here, look at that spike. All the way up into the 60s, came right back down. And then it kind of drifted lower, not really drifted, kind of came down lower day after day, pretty briskly, really, until it got down into all the way into the mid to high teens. So on a time like this, if you're over 25 on the VIX, a lot of times I just stay out of the market or I just do speculatory plays, such as, which I did do one of these. Whenever this VIX spikes, you might buy, keyword buy put verticals in the VIX, because that way, when the VIX comes back down, you can participate in that and make some money. I don't want to sell verticals. Don't think, hey, Mark, why not sell a call vertical to finance it? Terrible idea. I don't want to sell verticals in the VIX for a couple of reasons. One, on the call side, it can be so explosive, you can get just annihilated in a hurry, evidence right here. And on the downside, the VIX is chronically poor premium if you're trying to sell put verticals. So just stick with buying put or call verticals. If you want, you could just buy outright calls and puts. The thing with that is it is a little more expensive. That's why I use verticals, just to cut my cost. But anyway, it came back down. We got a little bit of more peaceful, and then a dust up again in September. This was a tough year. It really was, with all these huge changes in the VIX. And then the last few months, though, have been pretty tradable. We've had a little bit of moves here and there. You had to be wide. You had to know what you were doing to do non-directional trades. You had to be ready and knowledgeable in adjusting and repairing trades. But we had a lot of them work out here. Some of them worked out even without adjustments. Most trades in the past, in my experience for years, didn't even get an adjustment. I would say now we're probably a little over 50% of them do, but that's fine. It's as long as you know how to do it, you're good with that. If you want to learn how to do that, and people do ask me that a lot in the comments, just check out the description of this video and you'll see how you can join me over there every day at aramer.com or get one-on-one mentoring from me. I'd be happy to teach you all of that. I also have courses available, but it is something that I reserve for people who are a part of my core group. That's who I teach adjustments to. That's why I don't show them here on the channel. So if you want to dive into that, that's how you do it. Just follow one of those links over there, see the different things I offer, see what you think works for you. If you have any questions about that, just email me at theoptionsmentorspx@gmail.com. Also, that email's in the description. But as I follow on out here for the rest of the year, got a little more sideways, a little easier to trade. Then we took that big dive in the VIX. That was something. Went down like 5 points in a day. And I'd have to say most of this time, it's been calendars and double diagonals that have worked the best, depending on where we were at in here. But I did want to go through that whole chart just to acquaint you again and reinforce to you what I taught you last week, that you have to watch the market, the volatility changes, and that will let you know what trades are probably the best bet to put on at the time. You want to put the most things in your favor whenever you're trading. No one can have a trade that always works. No one can have a trade that never loses, of course. What you want to do is try to get the best chance you have to win by putting the correct things on at the correct time and managing them properly. So I'm trying to, as we go along here now, each week I'm going to try to expand on some core trading principles, and that is one of them. Keep your eye on the market. And I do think that volatility really is the best gauge to use, better than any other charts. Certainly fundamentals are out the window. That people who trade fundamentals, I don't even know what you're thinking. I mean, the fundamentals of this market are completely gone if you're looking for value. But you can certainly, some people still like to make use of charts. That's fine. Whatever you want to use. I don't do that. Charts don't play a part in my trade selection or my trade adjustment or really anything I do with trading. I might look at it, but I don't. And I used to be a big chartist, but I've found charts didn't work for me as well as following what the VIX does and putting on the right things at the right time. So I'm a very VIX-centric trader for something to give me a gauge of what we need to be doing for best results in that environment. All right, so that's a little bit about the VIX. I wanted to show you that this week. So now let's go over here to the SPX and talk about a trade for this week. Wow, that's interesting. I had this trade analyzed earlier, and oh, there it is. I was going to say, it didn't say not traded a few minutes ago. I'm going to make this a little smaller because this trade is so wide. if you don't have this analysis screen adjusted properly, you can't even get the whole trade here where you can see it. This is pretty close right here. But the idea with this trade is I've gone out a week from this Friday, because that way it'll be a little smoother for us this week. We got the minutes. You got a day off. I don't know how that's going to go. And the thing is, if you put on a trade, say, for this Friday, one of the issues can be if you do need to repair it, well, really, probably Tuesday is going to be your last day, because Wednesday technically is the last day before expiration. I don't normally add to trades as repairs. You might take something off. So I think it's a little easier to trade this week if you go out to the following week, and the time decay is there. If you look at this trade here, I modeled it using Friday's close of 59.42. And look at this. I was able to go all the way up to 60.05, over 60 points, and buy the long call and then sell one 10 points higher. And on the put side, I went down to 58.95, a little closer, because I'm comfortable with being a little closer on the put side, because if we go down, this is a long Vega trade. Volatility will help you anyway, probably expand it and make it a little taller, make this whole trade lift up when volatility goes in your favor. So I went down there, and there it is. Now, if you look at this, the graph is at 58.85 all the way to 60.10 between your shorts. That's a lot of room. And if we go over here and look at the expected move, say by this Friday, is $83, the market maker expected move. See it right there, plus or minus $83. And we got plenty of room to take that kind of move. We'd be in great shape in the graph if we went up 80 points this week. Or if we go down 80 points, you're still in really good shape on this graph. That's why I like this trade. It makes it a little harder to get in trouble whenever you have this much room. And that's what I'm talking about. Put the most things in your favor. Now, this is long Vega. The VIX is at 16. That's not super high, but it's certainly not low. So a trade like this can still do very well. This is a long Vega trade, diagonals and double diagonals, that are the most resilient to volatility changes that I've seen amongst long Vega trades. Certainly better than calendars. Calendars are terrific for time decay, and you can really make a lot of money with those fast whenever the market's in the right conditions. But we're a little high for those right now, and I want width. And you can't, it's hard to beat the width you get with the double diagonal, where both of the edges extend so far out. And what we're looking to do, of course, is to stay inside this expiration graph until we get our 8 or 10% and get out. So if we paid $1,225, maybe we're going to try to get $130, $120 in this trade. Now, if we just look on time decay alone, which is what I'm day stepping forward. Now, this doesn't count what volatility helped or hurt you with, or price movement. It does show some of that, but it doesn't count for volatility. But still, you'd be way above 10% gain if we had the volatility not harm us between now and Friday. You can see that about over $300. You'd be long out of this trade. I think this trade, if you put it on tomorrow, we don't have some huge movement or something, I think you have an excellent chance of being out of it by Wednesday after that Fed announcement. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see much time decay until that Fed announcement. That'll probably be something that will continue to elevate the IV in this short. Now, it won't be elevating it as much as it would be if you did this Friday. That's going to have a lot more volatility in it because it's going to expire this week. This one will certainly stay elevated through that, but not as much, and it'll probably come down a little quicker. This is just such a safe trade compared to doing one this week. But as always with these trades, trade them paper. If they're not right for you, don't do them. Never start doing a trade with real money the first time out. You don't want to do that. Get some paper trades under your belt so you can see how it could move. You know, I talk about this trade and what it could do for you, but a lot of things can happen. You can find out, hey, Mark said this was going to work. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it has a good chance. And when you paper trade these, you kind of see, okay, I can see where, hey, things can be a little tougher, or maybe things can work here, whatever that may be. But do paper trade these. If you're an experienced live trader with these, you know what you're doing, you know how to adjust everything. By all means, you can give one a try if that's right for you. But that is the trade I wanted to show you this week. I know sometimes lately it might sound like I'm a broken record on what trades I do, but I tend to do trades that work. I'm not a person who does different strategies just to be doing them. I think that's a fool's errand. You need to be doing what is most likely to work. If that means that you're doing calendars or you're doing double diagonals for 6 or 8 months straight or butterflies, then that's what you're doing. If they're working, they're working. Why would you want to change that? Right? You want to go with what's working. If every time you came to the plate in baseball, you got a hit with whatever it is you're doing, why would you change that? You wouldn't change it. So that's what you want to try to do. If you're getting most of your wins with these trades, then just keep doing them. But the caveat, remember, watch for those volatility changes. I like these trades. Hey, if the VIX is 25, things change. If the VIX is 13 or 14, things change. I probably won't be doing these, right? Or not as much. So that's what I'm talking about. With the VIX in this range, though, looking good here. So don't forget, folks, to hit the like and subscribe button. I really appreciate how much all of you have helped this YouTube channel grow for me. I know a lot of you from this YouTube channel have also joined me over at aramer.com, and I appreciate that. It's extremely flattering to have somebody follow you on YouTube or come over and work with you on a daily basis. It's very flattering that someone would do that with you, with my trade alert service and everything else I have. And I do appreciate that. I never take it lightly. I never take people for granted that I'm working with. It's really amazing that people want to stick with you and follow you. I appreciate that. And I hope you guys will all join me over at aramer.com and certainly join me next week here on YouTube when I'll put out another video. So have a great trading week. Enjoy that day off if you can on Thursday from the market. And I'll be back with you next Sunday. Have a great week. Bye-bye.